Man, it's been a while. Hello, internets. Jesus loves you. My name's Cody, and this is the Christian News Show we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays with GeeksUnderGrace.com. And our first couple of stories of the day are two different studies that came out. The first one being about marriage. If you're on the same age as me, you are probably beaten the head with divorce rates, which is probably because the generation before us did actually have a 40 to 50% divorce rate. It was really weird for me and my wife when we hit our first anniversary because the first thing that came to both of our minds was, yes, we beat a statistic. But now if you are younger, you are half as likely to get a divorce as someone who is older. And I keep knocking the last generation, but really these are people between the ages of 25 and 39, so last generation gets the credit too. Now, as happy as I am to hear about successful marriages, I think there does need to be a little bit of credit to the fact that the marriage rate has also gone down. I think a lot of it has to do with the stigma that there used to be about not being married and living together. That stigma's kind of gone away, and so people who are getting married, I feel, mean it a little bit more. Another study came out, and it's kind of alarming, but it's very subjective. You've probably heard before that 70% of United States citizens consider themselves to be Christians. Well, according to this study, only about 10% of those Christians actually practice it. Now, this study had 20 questions on people's beliefs and then 20 questions on their behavior. So it's kind of like they're saying that 10% of Christians practice Christianity in the way that this study wants them to. Still, 10% is kind of a crazy number. But I think to be more accurate with this, you need to have a statistic for each little thing. How many Christians believe this? How many Christians believe this? How many Christians do that? And then our next two stories are about persecution, two very different kinds. We're going to start out in Sudan. Rebels in Sudan have kidnapped 8 people working with Samaritan's Purse. Obviously, there's not a ton of information on this right now, but Samaritan Purse did leave a statement, and it doesn't seem too incredibly urgent. They confirmed that the 8 people on their staff were detained by armed personnel, that they have not been harmed, which is great news. They stated that there has not been a ransom request, which I think is really interesting. And this last part gives me a little bit of ease. They are hopeful for a quick and safe return. So it seems very hopeful. I mean, these people were fighting famine, so I can't believe the people would take them away, but it happens. Keep your prayers out for them. I'm not worried if Samaritan's Purse isn't worried. But regardless, it cannot be a fun situation for them. And our final story of the day takes us to China, where persecution has had so many ups and downs the last couple of years. The last time we talked about China, we were talking about a Christian play that was going to be debuting in China and how big that was. But now we're talking about new policies coming in that are going to crack down on home churches. Home churches are exactly what they sound like. They're churches within people's homes. The reason people do that is so they aren't regulated by the government, but they're also illegal. And China extremely regulates Christianity in their country. And so if you are doing one of these home churches, a lot of these times, these pastors that get caught end up going to prison. China seems to have this fear that any kind of religion will undermine the authority of the Chinese government. And that's why the Chinese government has so many regulations. And so coming from the government's point of view, it's probably a great compromise, but it's often abused. Regulations can be extremely strict. They've torn down entire church buildings because a cross was up too high. And that gets into population and how important building codes are because of the population, but still, it's definitely not easy to be a Christian over there. And if you are a Christian, you are a Chinese governed Christian in most cases, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is still run by the government, and it is used with government agendas in mind. Question of the day. How are you guys? I've missed you. Also, why do you think the younger generation is having better marriage rates? I'm really curious what you guys have to say. As always, I have a feeling, to me, I think it's just for being more careful, but I want to know what you guys have to say. Like being more careful with who we decide to marry. But yeah, leave your comments in the comment section down below. Let's see your ideas, your thoughts, your opinions. All that good stuff. As always, make sure you check out GeeksUnderGrace.com for more geeky content. My name's Cody Armour, bringing Christian news in a not-so-boring kind of way every Tuesday and Thursday. In closing, let the haters hate, let the Christians pray. To everybody like, subscribe. I will see you later, and God bless.